bridging the gap between the science and the experience behind training and coaching decisions, giving you practical takeaways through honest and challenging conversations around topics within the industry. Welcome to the Practical Coaching Podcast with Josh Horn. So for those of you that don't know me, I am Josh Horn, as you probably just heard in the intro right now. I am a coach, a personal trainer. I've been working in this industry for a really long time. I've been working out myself for 2 decades now. So the gym, training, health, fitness has been a part of my life for, as long as I can remember, as I'm approaching 30 years of age in my life now. So I guess where I should start with me real quick is right out of high school. I was playing multiple sports in high school. I always wanted to play in college, but what I did was I enlisted in the United States Marine Corps, and I went into the Marine Corps infantry. I saw the world. I achieved the rank of sergeant. Some good times, some bad times, and a lot of lessons learned. And a lot of lessons learned specifically on something that I'm going to talk about in a little bit today. But to skip over that real quick, I am currently a personal training director. So I manage a team of personal trainers. I oversee a really big personal training team at a large gym, one of the bigger gyms in the Boston area. I am a college strength and conditioning coach. I'm the head coach of football, head coach of strength and conditioning for football at Framingham State University here in Massachusetts. I run an online coaching business where I coach bodybuilders and other athletes alike. And on top of that, I am back going to school for a human performance degree. I am a new father, a dad to 2 dogs. My girlfriend here and I, we got a whole little family, this and that we are constantly having to take care of. So it's a busy life, and I'm constantly trying to kind of up the ante and learn and be better and be able to give back to this industry more. So this is going to be a form for me to express my thoughts in that kind of medium form type of content and be able to share more with you as I go. One thing that I wanted to start with today, and I always want to keep these short. I'm going to try and keep these at, maybe 30 minutes at the most. Maybe I have days where they go longer, but I want these to be like a quick 15 to 20 minute conversation that you can turn on really fast and learn from and directly apply it to your day's work. You can listen to this real quick on your way into work, if you're going to be training people, this, that, or before you hit the gym. And hopefully there's something that you can take away and then practice and implement throughout your day. Today being probably the most important, I think this is the most important concept that you need to grasp as a coach. This is specifically for the coaches out there, but this also goes for everyone else that works in business or leads a family or is just as a human being in life. The ball starts rolling, and I guess it ends rolling too, with effective leadership, right? Your ability to lead is what will make things happen. Your inability to lead is what will make things not happen, right? You will not be successful if you don't have someone that can take charge and lead a team of people to unite under a common goal, right? So when I think of leadership, there's something that, and I speak to my college athletes about this. I speak to my other coaches. I've told this story before. I remember back in mid 2000s, I guess mid 2000s, early 2010s, I should say. So because mid 2000s technically hasn't happened yet, if we're looking at it like from a century perspective. Anyways, I'm going to go on rants and stuff like that. My brain works in crazy ways, but back to the topic. So I remember we had been out on an operation for days. It's been raining. It's been cold. It's been below freezing. It's been like half snowing. We finally bunkered up in a kind of like a shelter, I guess you could say. I wouldn't say a shelter, a compound, I guess is the correct word. My Marines and I, we are bunkered up in this compound. It's freezing cold. It's 3, 4 in the morning, middle of the night. Everyone's tired. We haven't slept for days. If we have slept, then it's been just a couple hours here and there. But I remember I'm sitting there and I'm finally about to go to sleep. We got some guys up on watch. It's finally, I made sure all the guys are good for the night. And I remember sitting there and I was a sergeant at the time. We had a platoon commander, so an officer, and regardless of years of experience, you respect the officer. But this guy was a stud, right? Played really high level college football. Went on to be obviously a special operations officer. Really high level guy. I'm not going to name names, obviously for obvious reasons. But he looked at me. I guess I looked at him, right? And he's walking out into the other room, and he's getting ready to start working out at 3, 4 in the morning, right? And I'm looking at him like, sir, what are you doing? And he said nothing besides one phrase. He looked back at me in that cold, dark night, and he looked at me and he said, someone's got to get it. And I remember shaking my head. I'm like, damn, that's a leader. I was always well known for being a leader. And it was rare that like I really came across people that I was like, that's a leader, right? Because I had a high bar that I think was set for that in my brain. That was leadership right there. And it wasn't like it's not some carry the boats type thing that you probably see on the internet, right? It's just the fact that there is work that always has to be done. And if you want to stay at the top of your game, you have to do that work, even when it's most inconvenient for you. There were goals, there were things that he wanted to stay on top of. He always wanted to make sure that he was the most fit guy on the squad, that he could outrun everyone at any time. Because if people had to depend on him, he was there, right? And he was never someone that would fall behind. And it was those moments right there where, sure, like maybe it would have been better to get some sleep and recover, but to stay on top of preserving that aspect of his fitness, that was a decision that he made right there, not just to do it for himself, but to show the guys. You know, when all the guys are tired and they don't want to do anything, and they're like, I don't want to be up on watch. Like, I haven't slept in a couple of days. I'm so tired. Like, I just want to be home with my family and this and that, right? And then they see some guy get up when they're doubting if they can go on, and he goes up to do a workout in the other room, push-ups, and maybe run around the compound and stuff at 3, 4 in the morning, right? That's something that inspires people. That's something that people look at. They're like, oh, there's more I could be doing. There's the bar. The bar is being set up here. I'm down here. I need to work till I get up here, right? So it's a very important concept that leadership starts by being the example. Leaders lead from the front. They don't just bark orders, right? They do the things that they want to see their people do. Now, as I transition this into like business and fitness and especially coaching, right? And I'm going to specifically tie this into a recent event that I had in the strength and conditioning realm in terms of leadership, right? Your ability to hold yourself accountable, but not just hold yourself accountable, take ownership of when things are not just going right, but when they are going wrong, is what will set you apart as a leader. When your team, so whether you work in business or fitness or whatever it is, right, and you notice that something in the plan is not happening the way that you all had planned for, right? Where does the problem lie? Most people are probably going to say, it lies with so-and-so, directly where the problem is, instead of kind of looking up the chain and realizing that, what could I have done better? Me as a leader, how can I take ownership in the situation to either say, A, I didn't put this person in a position where they could best complete their job. B, maybe I've been slacking off on my end and I haven't done enough work. Or C, is it the culture that I've developed, right? Is there something wrong with the way that I want myself and my employees or my team members or my athletes to represent this team in this country? Is there something that I haven't instilled in these people from a values, from a principles perspective that I should have been? Because had I instilled those principles or those values, would they be looking at this differently and putting in a different amount of effort that would have then allowed them to get better work and more success within the endeavors that I'm asking them for, right? So it's an incredibly important thing to be able to say, what can I be doing more? Oh, you're not doing very well with your clients? Instead of firing a new trainer, stop and think to yourself, what can I do better to educate that young new trainer? I remember being in those shoes one day. I looking back, I'm like, wow, I don't even know how I got here based on how I started, right? Like, I just wanted to get people in the gym and break them down, which is obviously not the way to do it, right? So what can I do with this young trainer to not just educate them, but be in their corner and mentor them? There's a difference between educating people and actually guiding them and coaching them and mentoring people, right? So the ability to get down on their level, relate to someone, speak to someone, and just like human to human, right? We lose this element of the human to human nature of coaching sometimes, or in business or whatever it is, right? And we think that the whole element of leadership is just telling people the right things to do, and this is how it's supposed to be done, blah, 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 blah. And forgetting that the central point of all of this is a human being. And human beings are complex organisms that have different emotions and feelings and views of life, right? And if you don't get down on their level to understand what they've been through, what everything means to them, how they view life, what their values and their principles are they dealing with things in the background? Have they come from really rough aspects of life? Did they just lose a family member? Have they battled depression or drugs or alcohol or this or that, right? Until you know everything about your people, you cannot properly lead your people. So what you have to do is you have to be able to step back and get to know every person on an individual level. That's a component of this that I think is incredibly important. Why am I mentioning all that? So I had a recent incident that happened. Not an incident, I don't want to say. But on my college team, noticed that there were guys not showing up for lifts. There wasn't full attendance. Now, traditionally in a strength and conditioning setting, having been there as a college athlete after the military, what is probably going to be the most likely course of action? Well, it was exactly what was going on. Oh, you're not showing up for lifts? We're going to run you after practice. We're going to run you to the ground, right? I wasn't the one doing it. The coaches were. I didn't know about this right away yet, right? Or even the captains were like, we're going to go do captains runs, this and that, right? Or even other strength and conditioning coaches I know of that when athletes aren't showing up, they say, all right, I'll get mine. And the whole team gets punished and suffered, right? And we end up in some kind of like, certain universities that you're seeing had just come out about like rhabdo with all their athletes because they had some guy who dropped out of the Navy SEALs come and try and prove his worth or whatever, right? Totally crazy. But anyways, so I pulled the captains aside. I started to talk to them a little bit. And I said, hey guys, I want you, instead of going to the locker room and trying to jump your guys, I want you to think of how you can, as leaders, be better to your teammates because they are your family right now. They're the only family you have here on campus. And when someone in your family is suffering, you have to be able to be there for them and have their back. I want you to go to them and start talking to them and try and level with them and just build an understanding that you are all part of the same team, that you're all working together, rather than trying to break yourselves apart through punishing them and making them feel bad, right? Sure, kids are going to be lazy sometimes. But a lazy kid is going to understand that, oh, I'm pretty good at running. Why show up for a lift at 5 a.m. when I could just do a couple extra sprints after practice and I don't mind running, so it's not a big deal for me, right? So it's not going to work. Now, then one of the new coaches reached out to me. We started talking about this. And he wasn't sure how to handle it. He's newer to being a coach, right? He's a young coach. He's doing a great job. But I started to talk to him a little bit. And I said, Coach, here's what I want you to do. Same things that I told the captains. I just talked to the captains. I want to talk to you about this. When we try and take guys and we just break them down every time they have a mistake, we never facilitate an environment where people feel like they're actually being guided under a common mission, right? What I want you to do is if you have to end up running these guys, so be it. I will never take away your power as coach to do what you want to do. But here's what I recommend you to do, coach. Please go to these guys, all these ones on the list that haven't been showing up to lift, and have a one-on-one conversation with them. Try and identify why it is that they're not coming to lifts, why it is that they're not contributing to part of the team, and what else is going on with their life. A couple days went by, I got a text back from the coach. He said, hey man, just wanted to let you know, that was incredible. I'm already seeing better buy-in from the guys. I was able to reason with them and get down on their level and understand that like there's things that they're going through, or there's things that as an organization we're not doing for them. And there's some things that we need to fix culturally. And I really appreciate that. I'm new to this and I've never had someone truly like guide me in a sense of how to lead in this way as a coach. And I'm like, hey man, listen, like I was there. I had a lot of learning to do as a young Marine, and in my life, as I went forward, I've been through like a lot of crazy stuff in life, and I've had to learn some lessons the hard way and things that I've done wrong. I just want to make sure that we are, passing on, like me, I am, and the other coaches are passing on our experience to you to help make you better at what you do, because you're already doing such a great job, coach. I'm really proud of like how you stepped into this role as a young guy that just graduated. I'm going to help you be a little better at that. Here's some resources that I want you to read into as far as leadership and this and that goes and influencing your guys. Extremely receptive, right? Had I been like, hey, coach, give me the guys' names. I want to know every name. I'm going to get mine Sunday post game. We're going to do a conditioning session after that Saturday game. And they're never going to want to skip practice again because they just had to do all this conditioning after the Saturday game. You know, we might even do like some barbell complexes and really just break them down. Guess what that would do, right? Maybe bang the guys up more, definitely discourage them and make them hate the program, make them hate me, make them never want to listen to me again, make them never want to show up for a lift again, right? It just wouldn't do anything for us. It wouldn't serve our purpose. So being able to understand that leadership is not always, and these two concepts I've talked about, these two stories that I've used are like the two main topics that I want to hit on when it comes to leadership. Leadership is not always barking orders and just being the guy that's put in a position, right? Leadership is setting the standard, doing the things for yourself that you expect out of other people, and then two, being able to not just take ownership, but when it comes time to take ownership, realize that you have to get down on that level. So maybe we break it into three things, right? It's setting the standard, taking ownership when things go wrong, and then that third thing we can say separately is being able to get down on their level and understand that there is a human being at the root of this, and you have to treat human beings like human beings. You cannot expect them to act like AI, like robots. You cannot just pretend like they're one of your farm animals that you can whip or hit, and then you just expect them to not do that thing anymore, right? They're going to get discouraged if you don't give them the right guidance. This isn't a soft perspective, right? I demand a lot from my guys. On the first day I told them the one thing I won't demand is your respect. I will earn that. That is leadership, right? You have to earn the respect, set the standard, take ownership when things go wrong. Don't beat them down. Think of how can I reflect, like how I talked to that coach, hey man, how can you take ownership? I want you to actually ponder this. And I'm going to give you some examples of what we can do. How can you take ownership to be better for your team and help facilitate a winning environment with a culture that is tightly knit and is willing to do whatever it takes to have each other's back? And in that process, that number three of get down and understand and know your people at the base level. So that is kind of the wrap up of this first episode that I wanted to talk about today, because I think it's immensely important. So whether it is in business, coaching, your family, remember that it's up to you. If you want to be a leader, if you want to see things improve, you have to be able to set the standard. You have to be able to do the hard things. You have to go out and get it. Someone's got to get it. Someone's got to do that job. And it should be you if you're that leader. If you're the one that people count on, show people that you can be the person that they can count on, right? Two, it's about, like I just explained, owning up to everything. Even when it doesn't look like it's you that went wrong, think it, where could I have possibly gone wrong that led to this person being in a position where they kind of went wrong? And I didn't do my job in facilitating the perfect scenario for them to win. And that last, just that reminder is understand that the base level of everything is a human being, and you have to understand that human beings are super complicated and you can't just beat them into the ground and expect that they're going to change. So that's a wrap for today. Please, guys, if you enjoyed this episode, like, share, follow it. It would help immensely. If you can tag me on my story on Instagram, I would truly appreciate that. If you like this, there's also the Heavyweights podcast where myself and Dr. Dustin Wilson talk about training concepts and things like that in great detail. This is going to be my own little avenue here. So I'm going to talk about my own concepts, and we're going to get really deep dive into training things that I see. But feel free to message me on Instagram or leave it in the comments of this show of things that you want me to talk about. So again, thank you. Thank you for listening to the first episode of the Practical Coaching Podcast, and I will see you guys soon.